Hello YouTube folks, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. So really all I've done so far on this channel is book recommendations. You know, I'm still really new, still kind of figuring it out what I want to do here, but I changed where I am. I'm currently sitting. This is actually where I work 40 hours a week, is in this chair right here. It's nighttime, so the lighting's a little different. Forgive the shadows. I have this blinding ring light on, but it's fine. So today I'm going to be doing my first book rant video, and the book that I'm ranting about today is Belladonna by Adalyn Grace. So here's the situation with this book. On Goodreads, it has a 4.05 star rating average on Goodreads. And it's like a best-selling book. Barnes & Noble is blowing this book up, and it's being advertised everywhere as like this gothic romance fantasy book, and it's set in like region era or whatever. I read this book, it was part of a book club, which is the reason why I picked this book up at all. And I mean, it also like had a cute cover. The plot on the back of the book synopsis seemed really interesting, but I hated it. for reasons. And I took some notes, so I will be giving full spoilers. This is full spoilers. And you know, no hate to people who enjoyed this book. This is just my opinion, and these are a couple things that I have really passionate thoughts about when it comes to specifically YA fantasy. There's specific things that really drives me up the wall, and this book kind of did all of them. And I took a couple things from my book club discussion this morning because I wanted to take into account other people's opinions, not just my own. But pretty unanimously, it was, I don't want to say one way or the other, but I'll get into it. I'm going to look at my notes. Okay, so characters. Signa is the main character. She's described as dark-haired and having two different colored eyes, one blue or green or something, and one gold. First red flag. And then another character is Silas, who is like this farmhand at an estate that she goes to that I will get to later. And then Death. Death is a character, which is really interesting in theory, but I had problems with this specific death man that we'll get into. And then Signa has two cousins, Blythe, who is a very sickly woman, and then Percy, who is like this grumpy guy. They're both siblings. And then their parents, Blythe and Percy's parents, are Elijah, who is Signa's uncle, and he's like this drunk guy who doesn't care about anything, and all he wants to do is party and forget about the death of his wife, Lillian, who is Percy and Blythe's mother, who died like a year ago or something, like a year before Signa gets there. So here's a little plot summary. To be completely honest, I only read the first like 150 books because I couldn't even deal with it. So I looked up like a plot synopsis and caught up with a couple of my book club people and kind of gathered what happened in the rest of the book. And I have issues even with the parts that I didn't read. Let's get into it. So the plot: Signa, she is orphaned as a child because her party-loving mother throws this big party and somebody poisons the wine and they all die. And Signa's like a baby and she sees death. She can see death. This is like a prologue. I don't know if Signa remembers this as an adult, probably not, because she's indicated to be like literally an infant. Like she's still like wrapped up and being carried by her mother, so she can't be more than like 2, right? But she sees death while he's gathering the souls of all the dead people from the party, including her mother. And then throughout Signa's life, she's passed around to all these different relatives and caretakers that are described to be like wanting to take Signa's inheritance, like have some sort of stake in it, because her mommy and daddy are big monies and everybody wants a chunk of that cash. But they all die. Everyone who has ever taken care of Signa in her entire life, up until she's like 19 or whatever in this book, dies. They're dead. They're dead. And she learns as she's aging, as she's growing up from adolescence to adulthood, that she can't die. So she like, I don't know, falls down the stairs and breaks her neck, and it snaps back into a place and she comes alive and she eats belladonna, That's the title of the book. Belladonna berries and doesn't die. She lives. So she finds that she can't die. And every time she like does die, she does go into like this other realm before she gets snapped back into reality. And she sees death. This shadowy man. We'll get into that, like I said. And then the book starts with her accidentally killing one of her aunts. Let that sink in. She accidentally kills one of her aunts. She like pushes her and she like is old and decrepit and like falls and cracks her head open and dies. And then death appears and takes her aunt away. The aunt is Lillian's sister, I believe. Elijah's wife, who recently passed, Percy, and Blythe's mom, Cygnus cousins, right? So there's a little family tree there. So she kills her aunt. And Death is like, he appears and they talk for the first time. And she's like, oh my God, sup, homie? Why do you follow me everywhere? And he's like, hello, little bird. And she gets sent to live with her uncle Elijah and her cousins Blythe and Percy. And she finds out that through like the whole Death connection and through ghosts on the estate that Lillian was killed by poison. Shocking. And the rest of the book is Cigna trying to solve a mystery. The ending, so right, this is full spoilers, like I said, because we're really getting into it. I have a full page of notes, y'all. All right, buckle up. The ending. So Death and Silas, the like not important, irrelevant to the story, except like teaches Cigna how to ride a horse, I guess, farmhand guy on the estate, are the same person. Death and Silas are the same man. We find out that Percy poisoned his mother to death, was poisoning his sister to death, but she lived because Cigna traded a soul, somebody random, for Blythe so that Blythe could live. Cigna was like, oh my God, Death, take somebody else. Don't kill my cousin. And then Percy kills himself. Yeah. Cigna solved the mystery by being told by the killer, like for fun, what he did. And that's the mystery. And they solved it. So here is probably my initial biggest issue with this book. This was my first, like 20 pages into this book, when we first find out that every person who's ever taken care of her is dead, including her parents and like all these other people. She's completely unfazed, completely no trauma. She never talks about it. She has no issue with the fact that literally everybody she's ever known on any sort of intimate level has died. She doesn't care. Like, to me, I want to see Katniss level trauma, third book of the Hunger Games level trauma. Literally everyone she's ever known is dead. And she's like, Dad, stop following me everywhere I go. You're such a bully. Like it just made no sense to me. I was like, where is the trauma? You can't sit here and tell me that everybody this girl's ever known is dead. And she's like, I just need to make it to 19 so I can get my inheritance and you know, do what I want with my life. That was my first issue. That was the issue that first came into my head that I came up with on my own. I was like, you're a like weirdo who everyone thinks is like cursed and a witch or whatever because everyone around you is dead, and you are lonely because you don't have any friends because they're all dead, and you're an orphan and you can die and come back, and you see this like evil looking, we'll get into that, death figure all the time, and you have no trauma. You're totally fine. All you care about is coming into society. Like, that was so surface level to me. That was so frustrating because you, like, any human being who's seen that much death, even one person die, is incredibly traumatized, and it infiltrates every single thing in that person's life. You cannot sit here and tell me this girl would not have extreme trauma. Like, unless I could see a world where a book could be like, they hold it in or they blocked out the memory, and then it's like very exciting when it reveals its ugly head at the end of the book or something like that. Something happens and it comes up and is triggered, but that never happens. She's just like, Dust, leave me alone. Like, oh my god, stop putting love letters in my locker. It's like, no. Like, she's like, she doesn't care. First issue. I hate that she has 2 different colored eyes. I have no problem with people with 2 different colored eyes in real life, obviously. Like, it can be really beautiful. I know it makes people feel strange, but I hate, it's just a really tired, like, YA trope that's like, I have one gold eye. I'm touched. I'm different. Like, it would be one thing if she genuinely had a mutation where like she had a blue eye and a half blue, half green eye, or she had a brown eye and one was like a lighter brown, you know what I'm saying? Like something that's a little more realistic. But considering how little fantasy is actually in this book other than just death and ghosts, like it's hardly even a fantasy book. It's almost more like, I don't even know, like a spiritual, like she can see the other side versus like anything actually high stakes fantasy world existing, you know what I'm saying? But she's gold eye. I don't know. I think it's so cheese. I think it's so boring. Like a great example of a physical mutation that actually is a part of the plot and has any more depth than just making her different is in the Shadow and Bone series. She's up there. 1, 2, 3. Shadow and Bone series, where Alina gets the white hair after touching the Darkling, right? She gets like the shock of white hair from her brown hair, black hair, or whatever. Like that to me made sense because it was like her body's like physical trauma from that. It influenced the like religious following that she had because now she looked even more saintly. You know what I'm saying? Like it was part of the plot instead of just like she's different because she has a gold eye. You know what I'm saying? Like it just, it's so shallow. It's so cheap. Like why couldn't she just be normal looking? Like why couldn't she just look like me but happen to be able to see death? You know what I'm saying? Speaking of death, let's get into it, y'all. Let's get into it, y'all. Death is like the personification of a Fall Out Boy music video. Like he's like, I don't know, he's just like so weird. He's way too interested in humans. He's way too interested in Signa, which like, you know, they end up falling in love, I guess, at the end, but it's like, he's way too interested in her considering he's supposed to be this like ethereal, eternal creature that's literally been around since the dawn of time, right? Like the planet was created eons before humans were alive and plankton were dying in the sea. You know what I'm saying? And he's supposed to be like this physical embodiment of this eternal God. And he's like, Signa is so pretty. What are you doing, my little bird? I want to help you solve the mystery. Oh no, I can't interfere, but here's all this information that's definitely going to help you solve the mystery. It was an excellent idea to have death personified in this book and to have death have a romance with a human character. That could have gone to really exciting places, and instead they basically just gave like this teen boy death powers who had no history, who had no like ethereal depth, who had no like complexity that you would expect an eternal being to have. Like he was like a vampire. Like it was giving Edward Cullen. You know what I'm saying? He also like continuously put Signa down for wanting to be a part of a society. That's another issue I had with this book. Not to get to my next bullet point or anything, but Signa spends the whole book really excited to come out in society, you know, like they used to do that in the Regent era. You like showed your beautiful womanly face ready for marriage. Like she was really into like dresses and the makeup and like let girls be girly. Let girls be girly. Death constantly puts her down for wanting to belong. This girl has like, it was the one thing that made sense about her character was that all she wanted was to belong in society because she's lonely and everyone around her has died. So of course she wants to come out in society so she can find a community and find a family of her own and move on from her horrendous life. It's the one thing that made sense for her. And Death constantly put her down for that. He was like, what do you mean you want to be like other girls? You're different because you have one gold eye and you can see me. Like, why do you want to be like everyone else? Stop liking dresses. Like, let girls be girly. And in the end, she ends up being like, oh, Death, you're so right. Like, I'm so different. Like, I don't like dresses. I hated that. Let girls be girly. Let girls be girly. Also, back to the death thing. this may be a bit controversial because I know that like eternal being and teen girl is huge in YA fantasy. I know it's huge, but I specifically have an issue with Death and Cigna because he's been watching her since when she was a baby. Her mom and that party died. He's been like watching her since she was a baby, and now she's 19 or whatever, 18, 19, and they're falling in love. Doesn't it just give grooming? Especially because he like appeared to her a lot, right? Like she would die, or like one of the bazillion people that took care of her would die and she would see him. So like they had at least visual interactions, and she, you know, knew him and was interested in him, obviously, because he's like this non-human being that's like appearing to her. Like she feels special and she needs to know why. He's just been watching her since she was a baby. And I know it's easy to like suspend your disbelief when it comes to like eternal people, you know, like again the Edward Cullen thing, he was like 219 and Bella's like 17 or whatever. It was like, I don't know, it's different when they first meet each other and the fantasy being is already older and the teen girl like, and they meet at that point, versus literally Death has been watching her since she was 2 or a baby and then falls in love with her when she's an adult. It gives grooming. It's a little icky to me. I just don't like it. It's just not for me. It reminds me of like Jacob's imprint. I keep talking about Twilight. I keep talking about Twilight because it like is giving as rowdy as that book, which at least Twilight is like iconic, you know. This book had nothing iconic about it, but it's giving like when Jacob imprinted on Renesmee when she was like in the womb. It's like, I'm gonna be your protector and then we're gonna get married. Icky. I just didn't like it. Another issue I have with this book, and you see this so often in fantasy books, is just like the complete lack, specifically YA fantasy books, right? The complete lack of compelling relationships between anyone. Like Cigna and Blythe are supposed to be like, they end up being like really tight. They're like sisters. Like they've never met. They're newly found friendship, and later in the book it works. It's a good relationship, but they have an initial meeting that is terrible. Like Cigna says something horrible to Blythe while Blythe is like sick in bed and they just met, and then Blythe is like, you know, 2 chapters later she's like, don't talk to Cigna that way, she is my girl. And it's like, it's very tropey, like it's very pushed down your throat, and I didn't like it. And then Death and Cigna, I felt like had no chemistry. I know there's like the scone scene that everybody really likes, but they had no chemistry to me. They didn't get to know each other, you know what I'm saying? Like they like hardly got to see each other because she could only see him when she's like dead or when somebody else is dying or dead, right? It's giving liking somebody for the idea of them because it's like, oh my god, Death, and like, oh my god, this girl that can see me, versus actually liking somebody because you like to spend time with each other or because you feel safe or comfortable around each other. Like it's just, and I know like not all relationships need to be realistic in literature, obviously. Like it's exciting to see something that doesn't typically work out in real life work out in a book, but there were already just so many issues with their relationship between Death and Cigna that the fact that they had nothing in common besides solving this mystery and being able to interact, it was just really shallow to me. And so many characters were tropey too. Like Percy was literally just a grump. He was just a grump. Like he contributed nothing besides being the bad guy at the end of the book, right? He like killed people and then kills himself. And he's just like a grumpy dude. And that's it. And then there's like the 2 workers, like the butler and the maid or whatever, and they're like supposed to be like the ones that look suspicious but obviously are innocent, and it's just so tropey, like so many tropes. And Cigna has no personality either. Like she's completely surface level, which is absolutely classic in YA books across the board. Like that is so typical for specifically women to be completely like flaccid characters, like just nothing there. And I'm getting really tired of it, especially when you have iconic literature from a long, like such as the Hunger Games, right? I was talking about that earlier. Katniss is absolutely like an ocean of depth. She is incredible. And that book was written in like 2008 or something. Like you can't tell me that it's because of like tradition or something, or that's just like the nature of YA as a genre, because there's been so many books where the main character, the girl, actually has a personality beyond just like being the hero or solving the mystery. Like, I need to see women who are actually people instead of just objects. Sound familiar? Oh my god, on the topic of Percy, like, the mystery was like the worst part of this book. The worst part of the book. Cigna just gets nowhere, right? She's just like, oh, it's so cool, I interacted with this ghost who gave me this tiny bit of information. She didn't solve it. Percy comes to her and is like, I killed my mom, I'm poisoning my sister, and then he kills himself. Like, the mystery is never solved. So you spend like 300 pages of this book is trying to solve this mystery, ignoring the fact that there's no relationship or character development happening because all this emphasis on mystery, and the mystery is not even solved. He admits. Like, it was just such a cop-out. And he literally was like, in my book club, people were like, he literally was like, I didn't mean to kill my mom. I don't know why I kept poisoning her for such a long time. It was supposed to be quick, but I kept poisoning her. I don't know why. And then I was poisoning my sister for attention, and I'm gonna kill myself for attention. Like, just so lame. Like, and also, I'm so tired of the dead mom trope. There was not a single mom that was alive in this whole series. Like, I know the moms came back as ghosts and were like, oh my god, Signa, like, I'm still with you. Here's the next clue. Next puzzle piece. Oh, the train is going. I'm gonna talk over it because I'm fired up. The next puzzle in the puzzle piece. Like, I'm so tired of women dying for the purpose of making another character more interesting. Just me. On to, like, the things that this book did right but could have done better. The scary parts were pretty scary. There was a couple scenes. There was like a moment where like a ghost was hovering over a lake and then like started twitching out from the effort to like stay on the mortal plane and then like disappeared. There were a couple scary parts that were really, really good and really compelling and exciting because of the huge, you know, implications of like death and the literal character of death and the scenes with all the death. It would have been really interesting for this book to be scarier. I think it would have been a great horror book because like it could have been like Haunting of Bly Manor, right? It could have been the Netflix series. It could have been really scary and still have that sort of like Region era energy of like decorum and stuff and the spooky estate. I think it would have been really exciting, but they totally let it just like fade off. It was just like, oh yeah, and then I watched this literally terrifying, I'm gonna talk over the train, I'm talking over the train, literally terrifying thing happen, and I don't care. I'm not scared. I'm fine. I've seen death since I was a baby. Because he groomed me to love him as an adult. Yay. Tropes are huge right now. Like, that's pretty undeniable. The back of every book synopsis is some, you know, conglomeration of a bunch of different tropes because people are really dependent on tropes. You know, TikTok has made it really big. Like, do you like, you know, enemies to lovers? I recommend these books. And that's great. I have no issue with tropes. But when you take a trope and you stretch it, or you insert a trope into a book just to say the trope exists, or you like straight up lie, and the trope, you just like said that to get like more people to buy the book, I hate that. This book was advertised as a gothic forbidden romance with exciting T. Kingfisher style characters like death, and it wasn't gothic at all. If anything, it had more like Bridgerton energy. And the forbidden romance, there was never a point where it was forbidden. They literally see each other all the time because she's constantly like killing herself and then coming back to life and everyone's dying around her. Like, the forbidden, I guess, energy is like implied because they're from different planes, but it's never explored or discussed in the actual book. Like, it's just like, yeah, they can't be together, I guess, but like they're gonna be together all the time and it's gonna literally be the best part of the book. So forbidden love, but like the forbidden part already happened before the book started. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a lie. It was a lie. It wasn't real. The tropes are not applicable to this book. The best trope I could think of for this book is, and here's the thing with this book. Here's where I'm going to give some credit. The ideas were really, really good. The ideas were really good. Girl that can't die, with lots of death around her, death being a character, Regent era, ghosts, the pressures of society to come out as a debutante, like really exciting stuff. But it's completely executed poorly. This author grazed the surface when it came to these themes and ideas, especially the theme of death. Completely unexplored, completely just like there and not explained or discussed or delved into, like just like nothing. Like, it's just there as though, you know, it's a placemat on a table instead of a dragon on a table. You know what I'm saying? Like, there needed to be more. There could have been a really exciting, almost like philosophical element to this book if the author had explored death more. And just all the other themes across the board. In my book club, a really great point that the runner of the book club said was, this book idea should have been handed to a different author to write. And that's so mean. It's a little mean. I don't know. Like, I agree, like, wholeheartedly, 100%, because this book could have been really, really good if it was written by somebody else. You know, it is a little harsh. So at the end of the day, I have no hate towards the people who did like this book. I love that people are loving reading and that it's coming back into the mainstream, but this book was absolutely not for me. Like, I am a character reader. I like books that are heavy character. Of course, there needs to be like a good plot. You can't leave me with nothing, but I just, maybe I've aged out of it because I'm like in my mid-20s now, and I just like, I can't just like put on a brave face and read a really cruddy YA book anymore. I like can't stand when, like, if you're going to do a fantasy book justice, I feel like a huge element of that is inserting a lot of realism into a fantasy world. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that anybody, I don't care what universe you're from, I don't care what you've been through, if you're living in America or if you're living in a Tolkien book, I don't care. If every person you've ever known has died, you're going to have issues, and that's going to influence everything in your life. You cannot sit here and tell me that wouldn't. Otherwise, you're not a human, right? Otherwise, you're not even a humanoid, because death hurts everybody. It even hurts animals. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that. That makes any sense at all. Oh, I hit my necklace. Oh, also, tag, this is Riso Bobisa I wore because it has like a skeleton and a girl, so it's like Signa and death. But anyway, this book absolutely was not for me. I DNF'd it. I gave it 1 star on Goodreads, even though it probably would have been like 0 stars. And I've only DNF'd I think 4 books this whole year, which is pretty good for me. I had a lot of thoughts and I really wanted to share them. Let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree. I really don't want to like hurt anyone's feelings. I hope this didn't. I really didn't like this book. It just really wasn't for me. And I hope Adalyn Grace only grows from here, because I think this is her first book. Oh no, she has that other series, The Stars and the Teeth or something like that. I don't know which one came first, but she's still a really new and young author, so she could grow from here, you know, giving like Cassandra Clare with Mortal Instruments being like, and then Infernal Vices being like, you know what I'm saying? Authors grow, people grow. Eras of literature live and die. It's fine. This book just really, really wasn't for me, and I wanted to share my thoughts. Feel free to share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching my first hater video. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see if I like this format. I may film sitting again with like the ring light and stuff blinding me. We'll see. I don't know. I kind of like standing. It gives me more energy. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.